Tuck and Tuck Show.
All right, we're here today on the Tuck and Tuck Show with a very special episode. Every once in a while, we do special episodes. It'll be me and whatever guest that I choose. And today I have two very special guests. I have Chris Donaldson and Troy Hill. And today we're going to talk about the David Watson Scholarship. And we're also going to talk about just memories of David. So before we get started, I mean, everybody doesn't know who you guys are. I know who you are. But could you just, say your name and just give us what you do and what you've been up to the last couple of years.
You want to go?
Go ahead.
All right. My name is Troy Hill, as Khalid just, introduced me, that great introduction. For the past 20 some odd years, I've been working at Elyria City Schools, working with the youth of Elyria and just trying to, do what I can to assist them and as a homeschool liaison. That's what my job title is, and been looking at close to retirement, getting to that stage in my life right now, but still got that fire and still going out there. I also live in Lorraine with my family. Have my lovely wife, Janet. I have 3 children. My oldest is 26 years old. She lives in Indianapolis. Catherine. My son, Anthony, 22-year-old at home, and my youngest, who's going to be a senior in high school at Elyria High this year, is Maya. So that's what I've been occupying my time with for the past, 20 some odd years.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wish I was almost that retirement age because I got another 9 years at Oberlin College. No, Chris Donaldson. I grew up in Oberlin, with all of you, obviously. I work at Oberlin College now, Oberlin College graduate. I've been there for about 25 years now.
Okay.
I'm 4th generation out of 5 generations in my family to go to college, go to Oberlin College. So it's a special place for me. I'm the assistant dean for inclusion and belonging in the Multicultural Resource Commons at Oberlin College, and have been doing, kind of student support type of work for most of the time that I've been there. I am a resident of Lakewood now, Lakewood, Ohio, have 3 kids, wife Rachel, who I met at Oberlin, by the way, and so have a 15-year-old, a sophomore in high school, boy, Niall, 17-year-old, Ava, senior in high school, and then a sophomore in college, Sarah.
Okay.
She goes to the University of Pittsburgh now. So,
All right.
Yeah.
So while we're here to talk about David, who was all special to everybody, and special to the city of Oberlin. So let's start at the beginning, because a lot of people don't know stories that you know, because they're just stories that were between you and him. So how did you guys meet David initially?
Oh, man.
I know it had to be a long time ago.
This is a long time ago. I've known David for over 50 years.
Really?
We were in the same nursery school class at First Church in Oberlin. And I remember David, he was a thumb sucker. So we used to tease him about that all the time, right? And but no, I mean, we became friends that early on. So we were, in fact, we were in the daycare center as well together. So I've known David since, I was 3 or 4 years old.
That's crazy.
And then, and we were classmates then, and then we weren't classmates again, although we were still friends until we were in 5th grade. And I think 5th grade is where we really bonded. That was the time.
Okay. Now, did you guys play baseball at a young age or no?
Yeah, we played baseball together.
Now, what team were you on?
So let me see. I think that was Schubert Buick. We were in Class H, so we would have been 9 years old, or
Okay.
no, 10 years old that year. And we played on the same team. Mr. Johnson,
Man, he was.
Tom Johnson was our coach.
That thread runs through all Oberlin. Tom Johnson.
Man.
Yeah,
He had such an impact on Oberlin. It's unbelievable.
absolutely. Yeah.
So did you guys do good and because I know there were state teams back then.
Yeah. So we didn't win state until we were in Class G. So
Okay.
we were 12 years old at that time.
All right.
But we had a good team, though. I think we only lost a couple of games that year when we were playing together. David was our catcher, and he did some pitching as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I remember, just the stories, and I'll get into a story about that in a minute. But
Okay.
But yeah, no, we have a lot of memories together.
All right. What about you, Troy?
Same thing, man. I met him at daycare at First Church. I was a little younger than they were, but I was 3 and he was 5, and we've known each other since that time. And I've had the opportunity, like I said, Chris said they reconnected like in 5th grade. David always looked out for me when I was younger, but we really reconnected back when we got into high school. And I was telling the story yesterday, when we were walking down the hallway, it's like, he saw me and he, first thing he said to me was, what? And then I just started cracking up, right? And so it became like every single day. If you know Oberlin High School, by the senior lockers, right by the lunchroom there, when we passed at that time of day in class, and he would hit me with that what, and I hit him with that too. So, it was important because in high school you want to be seen, you want to be part of the crew and part and people to recognize you, and he did that, and he did that for me as a freshman when I first got there. But we've grown, traveled together, done all these things. He's a godfather of my children, or I'm sorry, my oldest, Catherine. And he's just been a big part of our lives. And we reconnected again after, he graduated and went off to college. I went off to college, graduated from college, and we reconnected again. I think that's when all of us got together, because we started, doing this football thing every Sunday. Started over there on Professor Street, probably about
That would have been almost 30 years
ago. Almost 30 years ago, where we got together and we would watch Sunday. We watched the OJ chase over there.
Yep.
During the finals.
That's right.
But we watched, football, and it was Browns, and while the Browns stunk, we still had that kinship, that camaraderie, that friendship.
But he was a Raiders fan.
Yeah.
He was not a Browns fan.
Yeah. Well, he was a Browns fan. He hoped the Browns did well, but if it came to the Browns or the Raiders, it was always that Raiders.
It was the Raiders.
Yeah.
The Raiders.
Yeah, that's how he would, he would do it. But that's a little bit of it in a nutshell. I got so many stories, and so many memories of this guy that just come up daily. You know what I mean? I'm like, a saying, or like today, students like, yeah, what you doing this weekend, Mr. Hill? And I'm like, I'm shooting my regular. And that's something that Waddy would say. You know what I mean? That's exactly something he would say. So, we're just trying to keep that legacy going, by any means necessary. So
Right. And I think one of the ways that we're doing that now is, and this is something that we used to do with David when he was still alive, right? We would have Thursday dinner together. We meet at, a place in, one of 3 places in Lorraine at 4:30 every Thursday.
Okay.
And so me and Troy and Kevin, Troy's cousin Kevin.
And
we were all really
Kevin
close.
was the one that really started that too. Kevin had the idea of starting, going out to eat with David, and just, when he was diagnosed, it's like, all right, we need to spend time. So it grew from that, and then we became part of it. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's weird because I was thinking about back to Kevin when my son was born. He was there. It was just a weird coincidence. He happened to be in Medina.
Okay.
But he was. I remember we sitting on the board. He's like, "Man, you got a son. It's gonna be great." And it has been great. But I wish he was here because I would like to have seen him.
Yeah. He's a big part of this too. Yeah. It was like once we moved to Lorraine. My family did. Waddy was already in Lorraine. And Kevin was already in Lorraine too. And I took Waddy over to Kevin's house one time, and they hit it off. And from that point, he's part of the, he's my family, but we're all family. We're like brothers. And that's like the thing that we have is like, when I talk to my kids at school, and like you need some people to tell you no, and I keep these brothers in my life because they still tell me no, because I'm difficult. So
And I can't believe that, man. I don't like. I know you guys, but I don't know you like you guys are friends with Watson. I know you as from back in the day, but I haven't kept contact with either one of you guys. So it's good to see you, and it's really good to hear the stories that you have about Watson. Because when I went to the memorial, you told me a story. You told everybody a story about him and Albert Bell, and I never knew that.
Yeah.
He never. I didn't know he played. You tell the story because you know better than I do.
David was and Chris has a story about his chess too, playing chess. David was a chess aficionado. I mean, this dude was brilliant at it. But he taught me how to play chess one day, and I never learned how to play. I knew how to play checkers, but never chess. So I always wanted to learn. And then he proceeded to hit me with a 4-move check, like right off the rip. And I'm like, man, you just taught me how to play just to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? just to, and we got a laugh, and then we ran it back, and it took a half hour for me to lose. So I felt a little better. And he told me about, I knew he'd been friends with Albert Bell, but David went to Cleveland State. And Albert Bell, when he first came to the then Indians, he lived above David at Cleveland State in a dorm. And so they became friends, and how they became friends is through playing chess. And David would just kill Albert Bell, just smoke him all day long. And Albert Bell would just, let's run him back. So David and Francie and I, David's wife, Francie, we were at a Indians game, and we were coming out, and we were just walking out, and we noticed this kid was over by this car, and he was trying to get an autograph. And we looked in, and we noticed it was Albert Bell, and he was like, yo, get away from the car. No. And David, I think he even said Joey. He was like, Joey. And you didn't call Albert Bell Joey back then. So that showed the relationship that they had. And Albert Bell's face was like, went from that anger to like, hey, what's up? And we went up to the car, and the kid's father came up and was like, I think he knows them, and dragged the kid away. And, David introduced me, he introduced Francie, and Albert Bell was so receptive, and so that showed me that he had made an impact on Albert Bell too. And so he's talking to us as he's driving down the road, leaving the Indians game, and, that's that. And that was my experience meeting him. And now I saw the vehicle he chased those kids down in.
Oh, that's
yeah.
When they egged his house.
Yeah.
That's crazy. No, so and then that's those stories are like awesome stories. But did you have any?
Oh,
no,
yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
have no.
Yeah, no, and I have a chess story too.
Do you?
Yeah, because like Troy said, Dave was a brilliant chess player, and I never saw him lose a game of chess. So when we really connected in 5th grade, we had assigned seats, and Dave and I were sitting next to each other, so we got a chance to really get to get to know each other that whole year, right? Mrs. Draper was our fifth grade teacher, and she was the greatest teacher that I think we ever had. And David and I used to talk about that all the time, how great Mrs. Draper was. She was kind, she was smart, she loved her students. She went out of her way for all of us for the whole year, right? And one of the things that she did is she had a chess tournament. And she said, okay, so I'm going to let you guys play, and the winner of the chess tournament gets a chance to play me, right? And Mrs. Draper, like I said, we looked at her as this brilliant person, right? So David, just rolled through everybody in the class, in chess. And it turned, it got to, David got a chance to play with Mrs. Draper, right? And it was a big thing too. There's a lot of lead up to it. And, we had our chairs all circle around, the two of them. It was 5th grade, right? We're 10 years old, 10, 11 years old. And we're just watching David just dismantle this brilliant teacher, right? And, and there were a bunch of us in the class, and we're just looking at each other, and, David make a move, check, and then check, another check, and then checkmate. And Mrs. Draper, she was just like, you know what, you beat me, right?
Wow.
And that had such a big impact on me because, we're 10, 11 years old, and he beat the smartest teacher that we had ever had. Right. And we used to talk about that, up until the very end, like, and David had this mind, this beautiful mind, where he was able, first of all, he was very organized, but he was always planning ahead too. And I think that kind of spoke, to his chess talents. Right. David was always looking ahead. He was always looking for that next move.
Right.
I think
Yeah, because when you read poems at the memorial, and for somebody to write a poem, knowing what's coming is because I probably would be in shambles if I knew what was coming. You know what I'm saying? That would just take over my whole existence. I'm like, man, I don't know what's going to happen and how this is going on. But he was always the same person, no matter what he was going through. When I seen him at the football camp, he was fine. He was just like, he was Watson, like y'all. And I told him, I said, one day I'm gonna have you on the show. All right, Tuck, I'll be on there. And he was the same Watson. No, and matter of fact, me and Wade went over there and we took him some stuff. And he told me, I said, Watson, how are you? He said, man, long as good people like you come to see me, I'll be fine. And I left there feeling better than when I got there. I'm like, man, he uplifted me, and I went over there to uplift him. So it was always good to see Watson. And me and him, we'd sit up there and talk at the gym because he always worked with Kurt Russell every summer. And I would stop up there at lunch break, and we would talk about this silly stuff like who's your favorite rapper. And he always liked KRS-One. He always told me KRS-One was the best rapper ever.
Yeah.
And then he would break down why he was. Then I'll start thinking like, maybe he is. You know what I'm saying? So he was highly intelligent and very very likable. Everybody loved Watson. I don't know anybody that I don't like David.
Right.
Everybody loved Watson.
Right. And what I'll add to that too is, David just I think he really relished, everybody the well wishes, especially towards the end, right? He used to always say, like, I feel the love, from the community, right? And that's what's keeping me going. And so, that was really important to him, for people just to reach out and just to, to send well wishes or whatever they did. David used to say all the time, that's so important to me.
Yeah.
Because when he was first diagnosed, they didn't give him a long period. How long was 8 to 12 weeks or something?
Yeah. 8 to 12 weeks if he went through the chemotherapy.
Right.
Right. So, and David, well, no, if he didn't go through the chemotherapy, 8 to 12 weeks. But, he went through chemotherapy and, had successful chemotherapy. They were able to kill all the cancer cells. He still had the tumor on his heart and some nodules on his lungs, but they were able to kill the cancer cells. Because
when it was first diagnosed, I remember Peanut told me, he said, I was at work and Watson couldn't get in the building. He was out of breath. And he said, then he told me what happened. I was like, man, that's crazy. But then it was like a year goes by. I'm like, man, he's doing good. He's doing so much better. And I was always uplifted by him doing better. And then when I seen him, like I said, at the camp, I figured, well, Watson going to be here for a while. So when he finally did pass, it kind of shook me up. But he lived a very full life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I was always happy. I was always happy to see Watson. He's one of the people, no matter where I was at, I was always happy to see him. After the basketball game, at the gym, no matter where I was at, I was always happy to see him. And I know he coached basketball, but he was a decent basketball player too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because didn't you guys play in high school together?
We played high school together. And I talked about Mrs. Draper earlier. She had a little basketball league that she had put together when we were in 5th grade, and we were the Draper 76ers.
Because he wanted to be the Doc.
Right, because he was Doc, right? And I was George McGinnis, and we all had names, right?
Okay.
And but that's the first time that we got a chance to play basketball together, in a semi, kind of organized way, right? And we ended up beating everybody. We just rolled over everybody, right? But what that does to your confidence. Not only in yourself, but with the others. I think that was the start of of our confidence and our I think just our we were always competing against each other too, right? So who was going to score the more points this game? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be David? Right? And it was always one of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you said you guys started going to dinner like every Thursday, right? So how were those? How did those dinners? How were they? Was just y'all joking around or?
Oh yeah,
good time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I know there was when it's just so odd that when you see somebody and what's coming, it's weird to me that I don't know how I could handle that, me personally. But he handled it with such grace and it was he never seemed like it was bothering him at all. And now in quiet moments it may have, but he never showed it to me. I don't know about you guys, but he never showed any of that to me.
But that was one thing about him. He wanted you to leave with, something like to help you.
Right.
You know what I mean? he would always pump us up, even when even talking about his illness, he would make, jokes, and we'd be like, man, stop, you're funny, and just in saying things, and, but he always wanted us to, be okay, and that's one of the things that he's always done. Even, you hear his kids talk, the students that he's dealt with at Oberlin High School and Oberlin City Schools, they talk about him in that way. He did that to us as friends, would pump us up. He would talk about, stuff that I had done in sports, when I was in high school, and tell my son about that kind of stuff. So I would tell my son, he like, oh man, whatever. But why would he keep him captivated with it? Yeah. And then I'd walk my chest out a little bit, bump into my son. You feel that? That's hops. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
right. It's one thing, for us to go to tell our kids that. Right. Some of the things that we did in the sports fields or whatever, but it's something else, when you have somebody else that's like, okay, yeah, this is, all the stories that you're hearing are true. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So, but that was David's nature. I mean, he always pumped people up. Yeah. He always found a positive, with people. And I think that's, that's the part of the legacy, I think, that he really left in this community.
He always knew the right thing to say. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He could, diagnose a situation and leave you with a gem. And you take that and, just like you said with KRS-One,
Yeah. So in honor of David, you guys started a scholarship. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little about what the scholarship is about, what it entails, and what, how it's going so far? Because I know people are donating.
Yeah.
So if you can tell us, first of all, just tell us what it's about and who's it awarded to.
Right. So I have actually the wording right here. But just to give you a little background about the scholarship. So this just came up as an idea, right? Okay. And this was actually after David had passed away. And I think we first started talking about it during one of our dinners. Right? And I had reached out to Kurt Russell and Donna Russell and just kind of bounced the idea, off of them, right? And, my wife Rachel and some family members, David's sister, who lives down in Columbus, Maxine, we had talked about it as well. And everybody seemed to buy into it, right? It just seemed like a really good idea. And what a way to carry on his legacy, right? So the night before the picnic, the memorial picnic, my wife and I sat down and we just went through GoFundMe, figured it out, and came up with the description of what the scholarship was going to be about. And then I bounced it off of Kurt Russell and these guys too, and everybody seemed like they were on the same page. So I'll just read a quick description of what the scholarship's about. And so it just says, let's see. He was a great student athlete who impacted the lives of many with his big heart, generosity, and witty sense of humor. David earned a bachelor. David passed away Monday, August 14, 2023, following a lengthy illness. In his honor, a memorial scholarship fund is being established to help support future Oberlin High School graduates. The scholarship will be awarded to a college-bound African-American male student athlete who is hardworking, respected by both his teachers and peers, and who understands and respects the unique value of the Oberlin community. Because I think that was important to David, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Because he was Oberlin, right? David knew Oberlin, people knew him. I don't know if there's anyone that really kind of encompassed, more of Oberlin than David did, right?
Right.
When it came to just like that nuanced kind of humor and just knowing people and people knowing him. So we wanted to do something special there.
Okay.
So we put it together, made the announcement during his memorial picnic, and since we've earned almost over $3,000.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we had a $5,000 goal, but that's between that was from 2 weeks ago until May, when the scholarship would be presented. So we're already almost 2/3 of the way there.
Okay. Now, is this going to be an annual thing or a one-time thing, or how is it going to work?
I think it just depends on how much we're able to get. I would love for it to be an annual thing, and I guess some initial thoughts. And I think this is something that I think is going to evolve as we figure this out more, and hopefully we get more donations. But what I would love to do is give one or two students this scholarship, maybe like $1,000 scholarship.
Okay.
To go towards their books, expenses, or whatever.
Yeah, because it's expensive to go to school these days.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So every little bit
Anything
helps.
helps. Yes.
Everything helps.
So depending on how much we make, and we'll continue to get the word out to the community, try to get more money for this. But depending on how much we make, that will determine, I think, just the longevity of the scholarship.
Okay, so now how do you donate? That's what I'm.
Oh, okay. So it's through GoFundMe.
Okay.
Right. So a couple things you can do. We have a GoFundMe. There's a QR code that we have, but there's also, I have a couple of copies here that we had actually at the picnic, where people can make donations just immediately there. And there also there's a website, a link here that you can go to, GoFundMe. Oh, I'm sorry, GoFund.me/C660E080. That's the website, or that's the link that you can go to, and then you can just make donations right there.
All right. So,
And I realize that not everybody is comfortable, going through GoFundMe. So I've had a couple people that have contacted me directly as well.
oh, okay. I'll just do it too. So hold on a minute. We'll do it on the show.
Okay.
Now, all right. So I donated. It's real simple. If you want to donate, just go to GoFundMe. It was easy for me to go to GoFundMe, type in David Watson, Oberlin High School, and that's how it worked. So I donated 100, and Matt said he's going to give me 20, and I know I probably won't get that, but it's donated anyway. So if you get an opportunity to donate, please do. I mean, you can give 20 like Matt, or you can be like me and give more because I'm more kinder than Matt. So.
I mean, we've had people that have given $5.
Yeah.
That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
$500 was one.
whatever you decide to donate, it goes to a good cause. I mean, everybody wants to see kids do better, so this is one way to help them. So
Yeah. And keep that legacy alive.
and
That's
keep
right.
David's
That
legacy alive.
Yeah.
He will be very happy to. I can hear him now.
Yeah.
Man, Tuck, you know you ain't got no $100.
I can hear David saying something like, "Oh, you stepped up your game."
He said, man, Tuck, you know you about to get that money back somewhere else. So it's been great having you guys on the show, man. I appreciate you coming out. That's our time. Anything in closing you guys want to say, or?
No, we just appreciate all the love and support that everybody gave David during this time. Like I said before, it was supposed to be, 10 to 12 weeks was a diagnosis. We got a year and a half extra with him,
Right.
a bonus.
We did.
So
Yeah.
we were blessed with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So it's good to see you guys, man. You guys look good. You actually have a voice for like radio. I didn't say face.
What about me? Right.
You sound all right. You more like if it was like you more like if you could do like the Quiet Storm or something like this is CD on the Quiet Storm.
JT on the Sunday.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? But you
right night.
yeah. See what I'm saying? Now Troy, he could be on like every day though, just like regular radio. My voice is like a cartoon character.
You doing all right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it day by day, man.
We appreciate you though, man. Thank you for having us.
So like once again, if you can donate whatever you can, go to GoFundMe, and that'd be great. Even if you see Chris somewhere, just hand him $1 or two.
Yeah, I work at Oberlin College.
He'll appreciate it.
I'm easy to find in the community.
Well, that's our show for this week, and as Morgan would always say, adios.
This has been another bomb-ass production from Short Walk Studios.